This is Investment Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Daily live streaming interactive. Featuring Mrs. Backup. Subscribe, hit the notification, smash the likes. Now, here's Backup Brad Kimes.
What's up? Welcome back to Investment Perspectives, everybody. I'm Brad Kimes. Forget the hoarse throat. Excuse me. It is allergies and sinus drain. Welcome to the Mid-Atlantic region. Good morning to everybody. Okay, so we had a conversation in a video yesterday about the potential pre-IPO of Ripple. Now, this is going to be a great conversation because it was inspired to continue after a private live stream we had in the Digital Asset Insiders group, where we had a great conversation about that, continued. And then after that, I got some really great ideas and suggestions from digital asset investor and Mr. B XRP. Shout out to both of my brothers. Absolute fire where we're going today. So what I want to do is clarify. Let's get some education. I had to do a crash course myself, and I want to share the information with you. Private stock, pre-IPO, and IPO. Let's get into this because I tell you, let's make some ground rules. Let's understand some things here. A pre-initial public offering, a placement, is a private sale of large blocks of shares before a stock is listed on a public exchange. Buyers are typically private equity firms, hedge funds, and other institutions willing to buy large stakes in the firm. Let's keep this going. How to sell private company stock. Let's look at the key takeaways here. Private company stock is a type of stock offered exclusively by a private company to its employees and investors. Unlike public stocks, the purchase and sale of private stocks must be approved by the company that issued them. So when it comes to SharesPost, LinkTo, and EquitiesN, they definitely, from Investopedia, had to have the permission from this statement to be able to offer the purchase and sale of Ripple's private stock. Buying private stocks for companies looking to go public can oftentimes be a lucrative investment strategy. Because private companies are not required to provide inside information to the public, investors are often wary of them. Although private stocks are not registered with the SEC, SEC regulations still apply to their purchase and sale. Very interesting. Don't forget about that one. All right, let's keep going. Ripple, as we know, most recent fundraising round was a Series C fundraising round. Let's get down to this section right here. By the time entrepreneurs have successfully negotiated a Series C round of financing, the company has begun to mature and prove itself in the marketplace. Venture capital firms that specialize in Series C fundraising are investing to make the business appealing for acquisition or to support a public offering. Because the company will presumably be more valuable with each round of financing, outside investors will likely pay more and get a smaller slice of the business in return compared with previous investors in early rounds. Some companies will go into the alphabet with additional rounds of funding even after Series C. So there could be a D fundraising, E, F, right? This is in addition to stabilizing lines of credit obtained from commercial lenders for day-to-day operation. We know that Ripple is very liquid. So this would seem and appear to be unlikely for their path. Doesn't mean they won't have further fundraising rounds, but knowing what we know about what Brad Garlinghouse has said, that they are very liquid, as a company, this would look less likely. However, it is possible. Once the company has survived after these milestones of growth, seed money, and at least 3 long hard looks from outside investors, the company might be ready to be acquired or to go public. So make no mistake about it, either Ripple is planning to either be acquired or to go public. Now, I think we can put that to rest because Brad Garlinghouse said at Davos in 2020 of January, he hinted that in the next 12 months, they were looking to potentially do an IPO, and I'm paraphrasing. They wouldn't be the first, but they wouldn't be the last, but they expect it to be leading. Okay. Let's go ahead and get to this next section here. This, shout out again to Digital Asset Investor who hit me to this. I did not know that Greg Kidd is also involved with SharesPost, which is one of the private stock offering companies, equity companies, offering Ripple stocks for sale and for purchase. Interestingly enough, Greg Kidd being involved with Ripple and also SharesPost and offering this, we're going to take a look at their website in just a second and really try to define what Ripple is doing. Are they looking to be acquired? Are they looking to just sell more private stock to other outside investors? Because that is a potential possibility too. But first, let's listen to just the mindset on Greg Kidd about the world of innovation in crypto. This is a little bit of a side piece, but just listen to his mind here. He's a brilliant man.
And so in other industries, you kind of take that for granted. That's the way Airbnb got started and Uber. They weren't in, at that time, regulated industries. But generally things in financial services, you got to be regulated. So when I came to Ripple, that was a new blockchain. That was the second thing after Bitcoin. The first month we went to Treasury to explain what we were doing. So,
the first month they went to Treasury to explain what they were doing.
So we didn't operate under the illusion that we would never be regulated and we would never have to ask permission. So it's finding that balance between doing something that's really innovative, but if you want to go mainstream and you're successful, you're going to run up against rules and regulations, guys with guns and badges.
Boom. They knew from day one that they were going to go public as a company and they wanted to be regulated and to make the regulatory regimes and the governments happy with where they were taking this private company, period. Now, listen to the rest of it just for fun.
Yeah. So I walk that
equally as powerful, actually.
So I'd like to see these new innovations make it into the mainstream. I'd like everyone in the world to be able to participate in this. So that doesn't mean that you can do it in a Mad Max way. But I hope you don't have to do it in a George Orwell way either.
Well said.
And now I'm more aware of maybe not in a Facebook way. So that's been the big passion, is finding a way that we can take these new innovations and make them for the people. And it's not because I'm like a hippie. You can probably tell I'm not a hippie.
No, doesn't strike me. Ripple, the fad, historian, not a hippie.
But like my aspiration is like the way the world worked in like Star Trek. Like that's in the future.
Okay.
And like people, they know when the doors open. So there must be some way that like it knows the door's supposed to open for you.
For you, not for me.
Not for me, right? Mm-hmm. And so they left out that episode of how to do that. So I believe the responsibility is to figure out how to get the identity solution figured out so you can do all these things without huge amounts of fraud or fake news or all the other downsides of having a system that's bottom up that might be an attack vector for bad guys.
Well said. And there it is. He's talking about looking even further ahead as far as crypto goes, as a side note here, about identity and global identity. Make no mistake about it. Now let's get back to SharesPost, where Greg Kidd is involved with that after being involved with Ripple. Ripple stock being offered by SharesPost. And as I understand this, to clarify, you as an accredited investor can buy blocks of shares. These are not some other form of stock. These are shares of Ripple. Now, whether they are Class A, Class B, or Class C shares is another matter, because Class A, Class B, Class C shares really are about defining voting rights. So for an example, Class A share may be weighted with a 5 voting right per share, whereas a Class B may be more of a management share, which may have 1 voting right per share, just so you're aware of that. Okay. It goes through here and describes Ripple's provides one frictionless experience, send money globally using blockchain technology. We all know the drill. They lay it down for us. Banks and payment providers can use the digital asset XRP to further reduce their cost and access new markets through offices all over the world. Ripple serves more than 300 financial institutions across 40 countries as of 2019. Buy or sell Ripple stock right here. Then here is a chart of the layout of what they got. The key investors. Learn more about a potential Ripple IPO. They're pushing the potential for Ripple to IPO here to potential buyers of this private stock. It goes further on here to break down the investors that have been behind this. Andreessen Horowitz and everyone else, Lightspeed, Venture Partners, SharesPost, Micro Ventures, Technology Ventures. You see all of them here. Seagate Venture Fund. Pre-company release, Ripple last raised $200 million in 2019 in a post-money valuation of $10 billion for the company. Originally, OpenCoin was founded in 2012 by Chris Larson and Jed McCaleb. The company has not officially endorsed a plan to participate in an IPO. However, you have to really understand about the potential. So what they're describing in these private equity firms here is the potential to buy these, what they believe to be on the path to be late stage pre-IPO private stocks. But because this is a very risky market, they take no responsibility for your loss or gain in investing in this market. Okay, and they have plenty of disclaimers down at the bottom of almost every page on every site you'll see. Now here's an interesting piece here. There's a nice exchange with Nunya, one of the funniest names on Twitter. I absolutely love it. And shout out to him because we had a great back and forth exchange. He had posted from back in August of 2019 that there was a link to offering available on listing pages once it is live. It will include information about the investment opportunity, including pricing and valuation. No action is required from you at this time. It's on my watch list. And you're receiving this notice because we expressed interest in investing in Ripple through EquitiesN. And then it gives the time when they're talking about a link to the offering will be available. And at that point, it's just said it's an offering. So I want to be clear about that, right? However, in order for them to sell these things, they have to be approved by Ripple in order to sell or purchase these private stocks, according to Investopedia. So this is the Class A, Class B, Class C, where we break that down, which is really about a weighted average for voting rights, depending on the class of stock share. So that's that. We covered that. This is interesting because EquitiesN is another one that is offering Ripple stock. This is how they describe their company. EquitiesN helps shareholders sell the equity for cash with company approval. They acknowledge the Investopedia remarks about needing the company's approval. Even while the company is still private, we believe employees and investors deserve the right to realize the value they have helped create. Until recently, access to pre-IPO companies has been limited. By leveraging technology and market expertise, our platform provides accredited investors access to pre-IPO late-stage technology investments at reasonable minimums via our investment fund. This was shared to Nunya in his personal account from EquitiesN. This is a better description here at the top of the page where they're offering the Ripple stock on EquitiesN. Sign up today to learn more about Ripple stock. EquitiesN is a marketplace for shares of proven pre-IPO tech companies. Compelling. They giveth and they taketh. I'm looking at this a lot now, like a lot of the interviews we capture from people in the industry that will tell you things and then say, but we're not there yet, and these kinds of things. I think you're starting to get the picture here. Moving forward, getting your IPO ducks in a row. The pre-IPO timeline is suggested here that you need about 6 months or so before you IPO to get your ducks in a row. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this. It's some pretty obvious stuff with auditors, structuring, and the like. You can imagine it's not very difficult to see where they're going. However, it does say, prepare your SEC registration statement, file your initial S1 filing with the SEC. What is an S1 filing? An S1 filing is used by companies planning on going public to register their securities with the United States Securities Exchange Commission as the registration statement by the Securities Act of 19. Courtesy of Nunya, who showed us that this is looking like it was offered as early as a private stock back in August of last year. However, we had a great exchange here. And Nunya had started out saying this is a secondary market of sales. Please be careful, kind of thing. Insider shares. This has nothing to do with an IPO. I've been buying for almost a year. And I appreciated that he had that back and forth with me, and shout out to him, because we've been able to drill down on this a little bit together through just our comments back and forth. And I had made a comment to him. I said, basically getting down to this comment, thank you for the information, but the part I'm having trouble with is how can a third party advertise a pre-IPO for a private company held stock? As I understand it, they need Ripple's permission. Otherwise, it's fraudulent marketing of a private stock. Your thoughts? And he goes through and he says this, and he adds to this, this could very well be a pre-IPO placement. The shares are listed as are Class A common shares, which means they have very heavy voting rights. But in Ripple's funding history, Class A commons were created on 2012, 66 million, price zero, raising, never used. Class B commons were in 2012, 35.3 million used. And now, wait a minute, they're calling them Class A commons. So maybe they don't have the voting rights that I think they do. We'll check that out, and I'll follow up at lunch on that as well. This is an excellent read regarding the requirements of pre-IPOs and employee-held stock. I'm learning more that this is actually a pre-IPO sale. Not saying when, but they are selling less XRP and still need to raise funds. Class A commons. And then he's got this document here, which I am going to read before later today. So I want to shout out to Nunya for that exchange. I want to shout out to Digital Asset Investor for the help on that. Is the Greg Kidd tip with SharesPost. I did not know that. And I absolutely got to give a huge shout. We're going to keep an eye on this stuff. If we learn more that changes the landscape, we'll absolutely share it. I want to stay on top of this because I think, look, just like I believe there's a huge correlation between the traditional markets and the digital asset space, there's a huge correlation between XRP's success and Ripple's IPO. The two go hand in hand. They absolutely do in my mind, because there needs to be a decoupling from Ripple, the blockchain infrastructure company, just as, and it doesn't mean that they can't keep the 6.5 billion XRP. I believe they will, and I believe they'll use it in a very, very good way. However, I do want to say that I do think it's important for Ripple, the blockchain infrastructure company, to fully decouple using the IPO in that process from XRP. Just as Brad Garlinghouse has said in conferences before, I could go back to Ripple's offices and close it down, turn off the lights, send everybody home, and XRP will keep right on going. I think we're getting closer to that moment being even more defined, which is better for Ripple, and I think it's better for XRP. And that was the original intention from them from the start. Just like I also believe at some point we need to decouple, and the market needs to decouple from Bitcoin as well. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I hope in some way we've been able to deepen the conversation, bring a little more clarity to whether or not we have a private stock situation, pre-IPO, and a potential path very soon, potentially, to an IPO for Ripple. All right, take care. If you like the content, please hit the like and subscribe and share it with somebody you know. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care.